Hello. In this episode, we're going to look at agricultural extension. This was already brought up in a previous episode in which we looked at potential roles for government in addressing market failure in the agricultural sector. Extension programs involve demonstration and training services for farmers for improving agricultural practices and raising farm productivity. This is the essential activity of extension services, to raise productivity of farms. And these are usually government supported, sometimes NGOs play a role, and they're frequently established and carried out through universities. So a well-known example from the developed world is the United States. Each state, each of the 50 states, has a designated land-grant university. Many of these were designated in the 1860s, and these are very well-known universities. Penn State, for example, was designated the land-grant university for Pennsylvania in 1863. And many of the universities are very well-known. Virginia Tech in Virginia, and University of Maryland in Maryland, clearly enough. And so since 1887, government has supported in the US agricultural experimentation stations through the land-grant universities, and they've done research relevant to the local ecological conditions and farming opportunities to create improved inputs and techniques, again, relevant for the local areas. Since 1914, extension or outreach agents have gone around the state, not just been based at the university or its satellite centers, and taught farmers new developments. In developing countries, extension services also can inform and train rural people in areas that go beyond direct agricultural productivity, though they may very well influence productivity indirectly or as complements. And this can mean training in natural resources, clearly a complement, but also in family health and nutrition and sanitation practices that also can be vital complements for productivity in the agricultural sector. These kinds of complements we've already looked at in the previous chapter, in chapter 8. Extension is indeed often through universities with government support, both national and regional government support, but sometimes there's standalone government agencies, not necessarily affiliated with a university, and sometimes NGOs play a very important role, as they have, for example, in the case of Bangladesh and Uganda. So these extension services are credited in many countries with some positive effects on productivity, research shows, notably through introducing high-yielding crop varieties in many countries. That's probably their greatest achievement, in a sense, in raising productivity. Farmer field schools is an approach originating in the 1980s in Indonesia to provide participatory learning by doing adult education out in the farms. And later, junior farmer field schools were created for school children who then took some of their knowledge back home. NGOs also play, indeed, an important role in extension in African countries. And so you can see, for the case of Uganda, in the Uganda section at the end of chapter case study for chapter 9, some example of this. And also for the case of Bangladesh, you can see something in the case study at the end of chapter 11, looking at BRAC's role in Bangladesh in this sector. However, in many countries, the extension services record is mixed, we can say, at best. One of the most egregious practices has been to marginalize and in some cases completely exclude women farmers from training and from other benefits made possible by extension services. This is also examined at the end of chapter case study of Kenya and Uganda, and particularly the case of Kenya. And so From here, the next episode will look more broadly at the key role of women in agricultural development, of which one part will be problems related to agricultural extension.